Welcome to the Fox Den Podcast, where leaders gather to grow. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fox Den today. I'm excited with my guest. I have Paul Draper here, who is, anthropologist, magician, mentalist, speaker, leader of many different things, and all over the world doing some incredible things. We've known each other now for how long? 15?
A long time.
17?
I mean, I was introduced to you by Jack Kent Tiller, the
Right.
man who was the music, music director on the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Right. Yeah, because he was a board member of one of my orchestras, and then you were in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat with that orchestra, and then obviously we've worked a few times with El Segundo Concert Band. But yeah, so we go way back, and I was thinking with what you do with magic and mentalism, there's this direct connection to leaders and how leaders understanding how the mind works obviously helps them to be better leaders, and
Right.
that whether they're leading themselves or they're leading a team, still understanding that. So I thought the idea of how the mind works and mindfulness within all of that maybe would be a great subject for us to touch on.
Yeah, so my background, how I got into all of this, I started my academic world as a anthropologist, and actually next week I am the keynote speaker for the Society of the Anthropology of Consciousness. They're a group of the American Anthropology Association talking about human consciousness, and they're going to be bringing the convention to Las Vegas to come see me.
Yeah, just see you.
Right now, though, I am in my virtual background of Cambridge University. This is the bridge at St. John's College. Here's the real me. There's me in the bridge right there, back there. But
magic.
Magic. And I was brought in to teach the postdocs and the researchers. So these are people with their doctorates already and people that are early researchers about mindfulness and sort of self-care and these things within there. So there are two areas, both culture that I study and mentalism, which I study, which is about it's a theatrical version of magic, of how to get people to do what you want them to do and think what you want them to think. So I get brought in for these leadership trainings to teach leaders how their people think, how to build a culture. And then I get brought in to teach leaders how to take better care of themselves beyond just drink more water and work 90 hours a day.
Right, yeah, because they won't stop working, but they need to drink more water. But
yeah, right.
And I think this is so important. I mean, first of all, the nature of a good leader is they're thinking about others more than themselves, right?
That's right.
But then they forget about themselves.
Right.
And to be in the best place to help others and to understand what you need to do for them, this idea of mindfulness. So when you speak to them about mindfulness, are you focused mainly on helping them understand the people they're leading, or how they can better help themselves?
It depends on who I'm hired to train. And so
Okay.
So most often leaders don't know that they know that they need to heal themselves. They don't know that's part of the equation. So most of the time they bring me in to train others. This is a funny thing I found in my trainings. I like to work with people at different levels of the organization. And I found no matter what level I start at, if I start here at the vice president level, I say, what do you wish the people below you would do? And their answer is, I wish they would just do the job they were paid to do. I wish they would stop complaining. I wish they'd show up and just do it. And I say, okay, what do you wish your C-suite people would do differently for how they treat you? And they say, oh, I wish they saw me as a person, as a unique individual, and understood what I could give to the company and would communicate that with me and listen to my advice. And I go down a level. What do you wish the people managers below you would do? I wish they would do their job. What do you wish the vice president? I wish they'd see me as a person. And I love that every company I go into has this same thing. And so I say, well, here are some tools to start to see each other as a person, and also here's some tools to examine ourselves as a person. But mindfulness starts with, accepting that we are not a machine, that we are a mind, and we are a mind that has been developed or created over thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years, and there are things built into there where we require quiet time, we require self-reflection, we require looking at things in the distance to change how our eyes focus. We require pausing and thinking in a different way to become very highly aware of our space that we're in, that we require breathing into our entire body instead of just into the top of our lungs that creates that, anxiety that most people lead into, that we require stretching, and that to realize that not that long ago we were all on the savannah. And so
All
if
right.
we were not built to sit in a chair hunched over a computer, 60 hours a week.
And at the end of the day, it's interesting that everybody wants to be seen that way,
Right,
but it's like what makes them view the people they lead in a different way.
right,
They don't view them as the same thing they want to be viewed at. And I mean, obviously, there could be a whole discussion about that, but I think part of that is they're losing focus on the actual goal and job they have, and that is to give that person what they need to be successful and
right.
not just a bottom line.
Right.
Um,
The bottom line of leadership is you have to have a vision of where the company is going, and that vision needs to include the people you have, and to have faith in their ability to actualize those things. And once you realize they absolutely can't, you release them from the company because it's not right for them. Don't keep someone around if you don't have faith in them, or can't have faith in them. If you can't have faith in anyone and you're a micromanager, maybe it's time for you to leave. And so, but most of us have this problem of the other, the self versus the other, and we have a very most people have a good sense of the self and the needs of the self and the value of the self. Not everybody, but have a strange relationship to the other, where the other is a non-human thing that is just here to complete a task. And that's, there was a fellow named Robin Dunbar, a biological anthropologist, who studied, we created what's called the Dunbar number. And he said that our brains can only hold about 3,000 people. And that 3,000 is everybody at our church, everybody we grew up with, everybody in our family, everybody we work with, everybody in the television show that we watch. If you know who Tom Hanks is, he's one of your 3,000. If you feel bad when Robin Williams died, which I did, he was one of my 3,000. And I'm emotionally closer to him than people that live on the same street as I do. I don't know them. And so this is why when we go to a high school reunion, there are people who remember us, but we don't remember them because we're still part of their 3,000, but they're no longer part of ours. We've replaced them with
right.
politicians or characters in novels or people we work with. And so it's very easy to other people instead of seeing them as an individual, because that's how our brains are built.
Right. Yeah, the brain and understanding that is only going to improve your own success and happiness,
Right,
as well as the other people that you're impacting and influencing.
right,
Um, And it's interesting because when I was a high school band director, we brought in a high performance psychologist to work with the students. And a lot of the things you're saying, different implementation, but a lot of the same things you're saying was kind of the motivation behind what he was doing, is that reality of understanding how your brain is working and then how your body is reacting to that. And the more we understand that, and then when he would look at the student leaders, the more they understood how that was impacting everybody else,
right,
the more productivity you were able to get out of them.
right.
But it started with understanding the person,
It started with
recognizing them.
understanding the other members of the band and realizing you are working towards a common goal.
Right. So if you work with these people, like, for example, would one takeaway that they could take when after you're done is, do you have a tool like how they can get to know those people better? What's a first step they could do to bring some personal touch to these
So
people?
some humanity. The first thing is you have to want to. You have to want to see that as a person, and you have to. We need to start thinking more clearly about who takes up that space in our head. If the royals in England are taking up that space in our head, those are five people that we can't, have in our real life. If we spend all of our time in computer games and fantasy movies, these aren't bad things. There's good things that come from these too. But if all of our time is spent there and we're closer to those characters than people in real life, it's a problem. And so I don't think we need to get rid of all of that escapism. We need escapism, but to hone it down a bit and try and build those relationships with characters in our life. Next is I try and connect people. If I see someone, I say, who else do I know and love that this person looks like? Who else do I know and love that this person reminds me of? And if you treat me like magician Ricky Jay, or treat me like Mr. French, depending upon how old you are, or Sebastian Cabot, depending on how old you are, or Pavarotti, or all of us sort of roundy, beardy guys. I'm somewhere between a mix between Pavarotti and Chumley. But all if we look like this, we've made choices that there are similar things between me and John Rhys Davies. And you treat us in this way, in a loving way, if you love those characters. You find people that you connect with. Next, try and find common ground. You may be complete strangers, but if you realize that you both like the Bulls, suddenly you have this deep connection that goes back a long distance. If you meet someone you've never met before, but you both went to the same high school, you meet someone you've never met before, but the both of you collect, watch Dragon Ball Z before you go to sleep. I mean,
Right.
suddenly there's a deep connection. You just have to find one. Then sometimes you can find many, and so getting to know people beyond the task they've been hired to do. What are their favorites? How do they like to learn? How do they like to be rewarded? And humanize people. Just changes everything.
When I think what's interesting from at the very beginning of this, when you ask, no matter what level they're at, when you ask them, what do you expect of the people you follow? What do you expect of the people that you're following? Um, it's exactly that's what you're just basically saying to them is you want your boss to humanize you.
Right?
So
Desperately.
you need to humanize others.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing too, you can't control what you can't control, right? So if somebody's not going to do that for you, at minimum, be a good example to them of
that's right.
how you'd like them to be to you.
Because suddenly your leader says, wow, your people love you. Your people give extraordinary engagement. Why are your people doing this? Oh, well, because I do these activities where I give them opportunities, where I believe in them, where I give them things beyond their current position, where I try to mentor them into higher positions. And I found as a leader that really helps my people. Leader,
Yeah.
you know,
Manage the manager.
yep, that's
Yeah.
right.
No,
Uh,
I think that's phenomenal. When I was in college, my orchestra director, Dr. Glenn Block, who's been nice enough to bring me back to Illinois State a couple times to conduct some music I've written, as a matter of fact. Um, One thing I learned from him through observation, every rehearsal, um, I'd go in, I'd sit down, I'd get ready. Every rehearsal, I'd see him in a different part of the room talking to people. And so we asked him once, like, what is that? And he said he makes a conscious effort at the beginning of every rehearsal to pick a different section of people. So French horns this time, violas the next time, and walks to them, greets them, asks them how they're doing, humanizes them.
right.
And he said, by the time a few months has gone by or less, I've now done that with everybody.
With everybody.
And then I start over again. And he said, eventually, after you've made the conscious effort to do that the first few times, you become interested enough by habit to just want to talk to them.
Right. Right.
And then they want to play for you as a musician.
You know,
Um,
this is something Walt Disney was famous for too. I mean, the Marty Sklar, I don't remember how to pronounce the last name, and Bob Gurr. I
uh,
met them once, and they said that you couldn't go 3 days working at Disney without Walt walking by and saying, "What are you doing? What are you working on? Teach
right.
me about that." And so Walt wasn't a micromanager. He wasn't, "Let me take that away from you and do it," or I have a friend who just got a job where she's required to prove what she has done every 15 minutes all day long.
Wow.
But Walt would stop by every 3 days. And it wasn't Walt just over the horn to the entire community. It was every 3 days to every group,
Right.
putting in a little passion, interest, engagement, all of those showing that he personally cared. So was your college, were you the one, Illinois, in Normal, Illinois?
Yeah. Yes.
So I am currently writing a paper with a rhetorician that teaches at that college. And
Okay.
so Joe Zompetti and I are writing a paper on rhetoric, right, and
Wow.
persuasion right now. So
Yeah. No, that
also my
is.
musical theater teacher at my undergrad went to that college. Jim Christian was his name.
Oh,
He was
okay.
my musical theater teacher.
Isn't it a small world? We
Small
just
world.
found another Bond. We've
We got another Bond.
speaking of Walt Disney, I remember when I was lucky enough to work with and
Richard
collaborate
Sherman.
with Richard Sherman, and he always told the story of how Walt's favorite song was Feed the Birds from Mary Poppins, and he would ask Richard to come to his office every Friday, and it just became a regular thing to sit down, sing and play Feed the Birds before Richard left for the day. And then that was Walt's way of ending the week. But after what you just said about Walt Disney, maybe that was his favorite song. But
Yeah,
I wonder if that was his way of letting Richard feel directly connected to Walt, that every week, even if they didn't see each other on the job, Richard could always look forward to
check
seeing
in.
Walt at the end of the week.
Right, could check in. And also, that's a mindfulness exercise, a meditative exercise. Every week, I'm going to listen to this song and reflect on it anew.
Right.
You and I can't hire one of the most famous composers in the world to come once a week and play for us, but but most people can have the song they work out to, or the song
Right.
they listen to on the way to the job. There are a lot of famous actors that we all love who, when they get a new character, they choose a song that song is the song their character most identifies with. And when they're putting on the makeup or when they're getting ready for the scene, they listen to that song every day of the shoot cycle because they're able to embody that
Right.
song and the feeling of that song into the character that they're playing. And that's a mindfulness exercise.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. Well, Paul, this has been incredible. You've brought some incredible perspective, even some action items that people could act on right away. And I know that's only skimming the surface. I mean, people need to get a hold of you and have them
Yeah.
come. You need to go speak for them and do this, because obviously this skims the surface of what you
Yeah.
bring to them. So I appreciate you bringing this to the Fox Den today.
So pauldraper.com is the place to find out. Look under keynotes and speeches, or you can see me on Inside the NBA with Shaq and Charles Barkley
Yes.
reading their minds.
That is a great video. So thank you so much, Paul. And thank you everybody for watching the Fox Den today. You can reach me at StephenAllenFox.com, and we appreciate you being here with us today at the Den. Have a great week. Visit us at foxpoint.net and StephenAllenFox.com.